Hello, everyone. This is your host, Ehsan Sheikh. I welcome you all to yet another amazing episode of Facebook Live Sessions. I hope you all are doing well. You all are amazing, and I thoroughly, enjoyed my vacations. I had a great time. I hope you also had a great time because we are meeting after a long time. So missed you all a lot, not a lot, but just a bit of. But. So back to the work now with an amazing guest with an amazing personality, and she is Brittney Nichole, joining us all the way from US. She is a very dynamic and transformational speaker, and she's the kind of a lady who has been speaking at different universities at different platforms about this, very important topic, or you can say the work that she's doing. So we would definitely have the conversation with her, and we would like to know what she is doing, in an actual sense, because she is doing something amazing, which is unbelievable. So, apart from that, she has a degree in education and psychology, a certification as a NeuroLinguistic program, and we will talk about that too. And she is the kind of a lady I would tell you guys that she is not only solving the problems of business or the entrepreneurs or the industry, but she is the kind of a lady who's solving the problems of people. What people are going through, what they're, what problems they're having, or life has its extreme highs and extreme lows. You are sometimes really dissatisfied with what you have, and you really want to achieve something, and this is the kind of a woman who really helps you, achieving that with her uh, advices, with her, kind of, you can say, suggestions. So thank you so much, Brittney. It really is an honor to have you.
Thank you, Hassan. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So tell us something about you, Brittany, and what exactly work you're doing, and what is it about, and how is this all working?
Yeah, of course. So, I am the founder of two businesses now. The first was Catalyst for Change,
Hmm.
and the second is Generation EQ, both of
Right.
which focus on emotional intelligence and effective communication strategies.
Hmm.
And I started these businesses because as I grew up as a child, my family just could not communicate effectively. They had good intentions behind their communication and they had good intentions behind their upbringing, but there was just something missing. And we
Hmm.
don't realize what an impact that has on our life. And so
Uh-huh.
as I grew up, I did a lot of self searching and learned about mindfulness and self awareness. And while I
Hmm.
was taking courses in psychology, I was able to apply what I learned and really change my life from what I
Hmm.
knew before. And that's why I started these businesses.
Right. So tell us something about this. That, I mean, if I ask you this question, that when did you first time, got inclined towards this emotional intelligence? Could you tell us something about your childhood, or how did this all start? Because when you are at that age, most of the times you do not think that way. You're not that mature. You have some different kind of dreams that you need to chase, that you need to follow. So all of a sudden, and I what I have seen and what I have felt is that you had this kind of a maturity even in your childhood. So is it like that, or is it something different from that? So would you take us to your childhood and tell me the whole story about it?
Sure. So I'm an only child. I have no siblings,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the only grandchild on my father's side. So I grew up around all adults pretty much. And so I matured, if you will, a little bit faster emotionally than other people, but I was still very immature because when you're around adults who do not know how to manage their emotions, then you're
Mm-hmm.
going to mature at their same level, right?
True.
And there was just a lot of conflict in the family. Being the only child, I felt like I was the peacemaker. I was
Mm-hmm.
always the one trying to bring people
Mm-hmm.
together, mend relationships, mend communication. And when I became a teenager, I
Mm-hmm.
started to notice I had a lot of anxiety, a
All right.
lot of frustration. Things could set me off emotionally very quickly,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that if I was 5 minutes late or a friend was supposed to come over to the house and they were 5 minutes late, it set me off into a panic. And I
Mm-hmm.
had all this stress and anxiety just from little things in life, things that
Mm-hmm.
weren't that important.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mom was on anti anxiety medicine. My family, pretty much everybody I knew in my family, was on some type of antidepressant or anti anxiety medicine. So she took me to the doctor at like 14, 15. I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and put
Mm-hmm.
on anti anxiety medicine myself. I
Mm-hmm.
was also a C minus student. I struggled in school
Mm-hmm.
from the time I can remember. I was a few grade levels behind in reading. So in
Mm-hmm.
second grade, I was still learning, one, two letter words, and I was always behind. And so, as much as I love the idea of education
Mm-hmm.
and learning, I hated going to school because I struggled. And so, my parents, they never went to college. They worked in plants and factories their whole life, and they didn't want that for me. They wanted me to go to college.
Right.
I did not want to go to college because I hated school. And so they were like, we'll start with a community college. So more of a
Mm-hmm.
technical school 2 year.
Yeah.
So I did that. And in I think it was like my third year, I was going for education. I was going to transfer to get my bachelor's.
Mm-hmm.
In my second or third year, I just had a meltdown in school.
All right.
And I had a panic attack. At the time, I didn't know that that's what it was, but I just said, I can't do this anymore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
school's not for me, college is not for me. And so I
Mm-hmm.
left that. I started a photography business.
Right.
So all this time, I still have all these disorders and anxiety. And so then I left my hometown and moved to Charlotte. And I realized that all of these problems that I had that I was blaming on everyone around me
Mm-hmm.
followed me to where I had moved to. So then I started to
Right.
realize, oh, it's not the people around me. I'm the common factor here. And so I managed to get my associate in education, and then I went on to get my bachelor's in psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was doing that, while I was taking all these courses, I'm starting to realize, like, oh, wow, this applies to me.
Yeah.
And that is when I started to practice alternatives to
Mm-hmm.
medicine, like
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness and regulating my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But I had never been given that alternative. It was
Right.
always, here's medication, here's medication. But
Mm-hmm.
through practicing that, I was able to get off my anti anxiety medicine. I was able to end all panic attacks that I was
Mm-hmm.
having consistently at that point and really change my life around. And that
Right.
is what drove me to pursue this as a career.
Right. That's pretty interesting. And would you like to tell me, Brittany, about this book, EQ, deficiency? So, what is it about? Have you? Would you like to tell me about something about this book?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think that all of us have the ability to really reduce our anxiety and stress and have a more fulfilling life
Mm-hmm.
if we understood emotional intelligence. But
Mm-hmm.
none of us were taught how to be emotionally intelligent. It's a skill set. It's not like IQ, it's not inherent.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we need to learn. And I believe in our society, we have a deficiency of emotional intelligence, which I call the
Mm-hmm.
EQ deficiency. So, this
Right.
book that's coming out September 23rd talks about all of the challenges that we face in life, whether it's violence, whether it's
Right.
anxiety, loneliness, all of these things, performance, and how that is all being tied back to emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, there's going to be smaller factors here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
I think emotional intelligence is such a large component that can fix so many issues. So I talk about how we can use that in communication and start building this within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited for that to come out and share it with people. I've got some really good feedback on it.
Right. So, tell me, Brittany, about this book. Is it going to be in September? Is it going to be out in September, or has it been already come out? You know.
It'll be out September 23rd, and it'll be on. You can find it in bookstores if you ask, they can order it for you. But it's also going to be on Amazon as well.
All right, so and it means that I'm going to read it, and I'm really excited to have it. And because
Yeah.
I also love reading books, and I really love it, and I'm really looking forward to have it. And most of the quotations that I, the quotes that I read from the book, or so I think it was amazing. So how do you manage your time? How are you going to manage your time writing it, and whatever you have experience and whatever you have? So because you have this a very busy schedule, so is it like a late night, like when you are really alone, when you have that lonely part, and then you are writing it down? So how are you managing your time? I mean, writing it.
So I just write things on a piece of paper that I need to have done. I crumple it up in a ball, throw it in the air, and whatever I catch. No, that's what it feels like, anyways. It feels like
Yeah.
it's very disorganized chaos sometimes.
Uh-huh.
So I used to wake up super early in the morning. I would wake up at like 5 a.m. and
Uh-huh.
start my day. But I started to notice that my body did not like that. And by 2 p.m., I needed at least a 20-minute nap before I could
Mhm.
jump back in and be productive.
Right.
So, the beauty of working remote, working from home, is I can set my own schedule. So
Yeah.
now I let my body tell me when it wants to wake up. And usually that's around 7:45, 8 a.m. And then I start my day. But then I work until like 9:30, 10 p.m. at night.
Right. So.
And it doesn't feel like working though, because I'm doing what I love. So there's really not this divide. I mean, I'll take some breaks
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's important for any of us
Yeah, it's
to
very
take
true.
breaks when listen to your body. That's what I tell people. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I'm feeling like I'm getting burnt out sitting in front of my
Mm-hmm.
computer, then I'm not going to be productive.
Yeah.
So I'll step away for 30 minutes, walk my dog, you know, hang out with my husband for 30 minutes and watch a show and eat something. But yeah, it's kind of I just listen to my body and I find
Mhm.
that I get more done that way.
And once
But
you give that gap, I think you really revive yourself. You really go
yeah,
back to the energy that you were in. Yeah, it's very true.
exactly. Exactly.
Very true. Right. So, one of the thing that I really came across was let your emotion speak with your own self than the other person. So, could you put light on that? I'm sorry if I just read it, in a very wrong way, but this is how it was. So, how do you define this? When you're talking about your emotion, uh, you know, and you're talking about the fact that speak to yourself, not to the
Yeah,
other when it comes to the emotion. Could you go into the depth of it? I mean, I think
I
it's
would
very
love
deep, right?
to.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
love to and I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
So many times we project our emotions onto other people. So
Yeah.
when we are angry, all the other person is seeing is that emotion, the
Mm-hmm.
anger. They don't see the need or the message behind that emotion. So when I say speak to let your emotion speak to you and not to the other person,
Mm-hmm.
that means listen to that emotion because it's telling us something. It has something to tell us.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, what we do is ignore it or we project it.
Right.
And instead, if we listen to it, then we can say, I'm angry. Why am I angry? Oh, I'm angry because I don't feel like I'm being heard. Well, why do I not feel like I'm being heard? So you start to have this inner dialogue with yourself and
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself all these questions. And
Yeah.
then when your emotion has spoken to you and you understand that message, then
Uh-huh.
instead of projecting that emotion, you can project the message saying,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm angry because I feel this way.
Uh-huh. Right.
So that
True.
is
Very true.
letting your emotions speak to you and not the other
All
person.
right, Brittany, some most of the time we also do this, that we do this self projection, like whatever I have. This is what is something is my you can say kind of definition, which may be wrong, which may be quite wrong. I'm not an expert, but we do this self projection in a kind of a way when like we realize that for example, if I'm feeling like I'm tired, so I say like things to the people out there that I think you seem tired, even though I'm tired. The other person is not tired, or if I'm feeling quite angry, or I'm feeling quite aggressive. So that is when I would say that, oh my God, like talking to the other person, I would say, why are you so angry? Why are you going so mad? You know, so we really do this kind of self projection too. We are projecting ourselves onto the other person, even though we are going through that emotion.
Exactly.
I think this is what is all about. So it really reminded me of that thing that I read in one of the courses that I was doing in my MBA. So, but let's talk about this communication because we started off from there. Brittany, when we are talking about communication, Why do you think it is so difficult to communicate? And I mean, when you have social media, when you have different platforms, when you have different things, now, anything can be spoken. Even if I'm carrying some baggage in my heart, if I have something, if I'm going through something, I can write it down on the social page. I can write it down on Facebook. I'm sharing my sorrows, I'm sharing my happiness, I'm sharing everything. People are really commenting on that. Oh my God, you're feeling that. We are there for you. Even if we are at the hospital, we are putting up the check and we're saying, I'm at the hospital, and people are really coming towards you even though they're not coming towards you physically, but mentally, or you can say in a comment section at least, people are really approaching you and they're saying, they're asking you, oh, you're here, you're stuck up. When you have these kind of things, when you have the social media, despite that, I believe that there is a communication gap which is always found. What do you think? What is the main reason behind that?
I don't think we were ever taught how to effectively communicate.
Mm-hmm.
We were taught how to be polite. We were
Right.
taught how to say the right things,
Mm-hmm.
or if you do something, this is how you should reply, right? So everything's very surface level. Well, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
say everything, but a lot of things are surface level.
Right.
Then you say, well, but why are people acting out and saying things that are so hateful
Yeah.
if we were taught how to be polite?
True.
And that's because whenever, excuse me, whenever our emotional brain kicks in, our rational brain shuts off.
Mm-hmm.
So all
True.
of those things we've been taught shuts down, and then we're just in the emotional brain. So
Mm-hmm.
we're communicating those feelings and those emotions. And oftentimes when we're in that zone, it's not
Mm-hmm.
always pleasant. But if
Right.
we were taught how to be more authentic
Mm-hmm.
and more understanding and empathetic to other
Mm-hmm.
people, then even when that rational brain shuts off, our
Mm-hmm.
emotional brain will genuinely connect with you and be more understanding instead of projecting those emotions. And
Right.
emotional intelligence and communication are tied together. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that because we lack both of those skills, that is why we're so ineffective in terms of social media. Because some people blame social media and the internet for our lack of communication. But
Mm-hmm.
like you said, even without that, we have a communication issue. Those
Mm-hmm.
platforms are simply a tool.
Mm-hmm.
And a tool is inherently neither good nor bad.
Mm-hmm.
It is neutral. It's all about how we use it. And if we haven't been taught how to effectively use a tool,
True.
and there's room for error there.
Right. And I think it's very important for us to be emotionally connected with people, like you said, empathetic. And I have really noticed, I would share you with you my experience. I've really seen that people are really quite away sometimes from the other person. They have the geographical distance, but even then they are mutually connected, emotionally connected. I think emotional connection is more important than the geographical connection. I have seen many people, they have no geographical distance, they are here, they're sitting in front of each other, but despite that they're like fighting, they're confronting, they're arguing with each other, that oh my God, this is what I disagree with. But most of the time, so I think this connectivity is very important. But one question I would like to keep in front of you, Brittney,
Mm-hmm.
because you have met a lot of people and people have shared a lot of problems with you, so more than me according to your experiences, because you are a specialist, you know that well. Don't you think it is very difficult to make people understand? There are many people who are quite stubborn, there are many people who are quite aggressive, there are many people, when you try to make them feel empathetic, when you tell them to go into the shoes of the other and understand what they're going through, don't you think it's a very big challenge to make people understand? Or what is that one quality that you have through which you make people understand?
You can't make people understand. That's the thing. You can't.
All right.
You can influence them,
Hmm.
but the problem is we're always trying to make people do something that we
Hmm.
can't do. It's a different, you have to embody that.
Hmm.
And what I recommend and what has been very uh, what has really worked with my clients and people I've interacted with is instead of trying to make them understand,
Hmm.
model that for them. So if you want them to be empathetic, then empathize with them. If you
Mm-hmm.
want them to be kinder, show them kindness. Because, and it may take time. This isn't something that's going to change overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we expect from behavior, is because we've been raised to say, start doing this, stop doing that. It's not
Mm-hmm.
that simple. But when we have that patience with people, that is what changes people. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk for a minute, because you brought up a great point, and I don't want to miss this opportunity. I don't know if you saw the interview I had with Daryl Davis. He's an
Mm-hmm.
African American blues musician, and he has, are you familiar with the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan in the
I think
US?
I've heard that, but not really.
So it's white supremacist.
Mm-hmm.
So they hate pretty much anyone who is not white, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's a black man talking to these KKK members.
All right.
And he never tried to convert them or tell them that they were wrong, but he came
Mm-hmm.
from a place of understanding and just wanted to hear them out.
Mm-hmm.
And he has, well, not convinced, but he has influenced over 200 KKK members to date
Right.
to denounce hatred and denounce the KKK, turn in their robes,
Mm-hmm.
um, just from coming from a place of understanding. So that's
Right.
the power of just being compassionate to other people that may not project that to you.
Right. I think the first phrase that you just said right after the question that kept in front of you was that you cannot make people convinced. And that was the most convincing thing you, by the way, said to me because I really understood it. It was very fine. You're really uh, true with it that you can't make people understand. You have to, give them the model. You have to be compassionate. Once you do that, I think people really understand what your point is. So, Brittany, could you define this in neuro linguistic programming because you also look into that? What is it all about? Could you tell the people out there who are listening to you, watching you?
So NLP doesn't have an official definition.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird. And it's so complex. But
Right.
neuro, so the mind, linguistic language, and
Mm-hmm.
programming. So it's all about how our thoughts and language
Mm-hmm.
affect our reality and our
Mm-hmm.
behavior. So it teaches us how to really become conscious of our thoughts and what we say that creates our reality perception and situation, and how
Right.
to manipulate those modalities, so our sensory information,
Mm-hmm.
to create a new reality. And it's a lot about modeling. So it
Mm-hmm.
started with seeing all these people that were very successful,
Right.
looking at what they were doing, and then modeling their behavior.
Right, right. Brittany, I'm going to be now very philosophic kind of a person. I love philosophy, and I'm sorry, I am this kind of a very poetic, or you can say this philosophic kind of a person. So I have some questions that I have, made up for you, and I'm going to answer, ask you those questions because this is the side of Brittany that everybody knows, who goes to different places, or who goes to the people out there, listen to their problems and all. But there is another side of Brittany which is very lighter, which is the kind of a side which makes her feel comfortable. She also needs to have a walk. She also needs to have a jog. She also needs to have some exercise. She also needs to, because when you are really putting that energy into the people, when you're really inculcating those things into the people, for that you really need to have time for your own self. When I'm clear on the inside, I will clear the other people from the other side.
Mhm.
So having said that, but before that, I would love to keep one question in front of you. Why do you think it becomes very difficult for the people to make proper decision making? Where is the lackness? Do you think is there? Is it like, there, what is the thing which is missing, in bringing up the kids by parents, which is not really making kids, or you can say people, a very good decision maker? Because I have seen people are really having those kind of dilemmas. They have those quandaries. They are like not really understanding the problems. So what I believe is that I really did my investigation on that, and I came across the fact that, when you are really pampering the kids, when you're really not giving them that liberty, which really should be given. This is what is something that really makes them, they are not very good decision makers. So what do you say? Why is it so difficult? Where is the lackness?
There's a couple different types of decisions, right?
Mhm.
There's logical processing, rational processing, problem solving. There's all these
Mhm.
different types of decisions that we can make. Some
Right,
are driven by emotion, others are driven more by, you know, problem solving ability. So
right.
math or things like that, right? There's no emotions involved in that. So there's
Yeah,
two different
yeah.
types of problem solving.
Mhm.
In terms of the ones that are moral, like doing the right thing or making the right decisions,
Mhm.
I think it's because, like you said, I don't know if I would necessarily say pampering, but I think that whenever we tell people, again, what they should do, how they should think, we're not giving them that ability to understand why they're making those decisions. So
Right.
then when they have the choice to make it on their own, they're more driven by impulse than they
Mhm.
are rationalizing it, right?
Right. Mhm.
To do that,
True.
I would say that you I guess you're kind of right. Like we've got to let them skin their knees a little bit, if
Yeah,
you want to say that. Make
yeah.
mistakes. Let them
Mhm.
learn from those mistakes. And instead
Mhm.
of discouraging mistakes,
Mhm.
which we often do,
Mhm.
look at that as a learning experience because I
Very true.
think we're so afraid to make mistakes,
Yeah, very
right?
true. All right, Brittany. Now let's talk about this. What is the best thing about Brittany, and what is the worst thing about Brittany?
Mm.
Oh my God, this word is something I'm going. Yeah. What is it? Or I can say the best quality that you have, that you think this is what is something that really has helped me in getting where I wanted to be. Or this is what is something that I should not have. I think everybody has some positivity. Everybody has some negativity. It's okay if you do not share the negativity with me, but I would really love to hear that positive side, that positive energy that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best qualities now come from my worst qualities, if that makes sense. It was what I learned from those
Mhm.
qualities that kind of changed who I
Mhm.
am. And I would say that I am I'm more self-compassionate now.
All right.
I don't beat up on myself anymore. And by
Mhm.
being self-compassionate, I'm able to be more compassionate for
Right.
others.
Right.
My
Brittany, if I
worst
ask you this
quality,
question, all right. Yeah.
my worst quality is I'm very quick to jump from one thing to the next
All
instead
right.
of just being immersed in one thing for a longer period of time. So I need to spend more time just focused on a
All right.
specific topic instead of going from one task to the next.
All right. Brittany, if there is any kind of a problem, during the live conversation, please do give me a moment. I will come back because I think there is a problem, and I think this is the beauty of the live show that anything can happen. And I think I can see the battery is going low, but I think it's going to be fine. Within 2 minutes, I'll be back. But until that, we're talking. So my another question to you is that if there is one thing that you would have changed in your life, what would that be?
So it's a tricky question, right? Because if I go back and change something,
Mm-hmm.
then it's going to have a butterfly effect. It's going to change everything up until where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if I knew what I know now back then, I
Mm-hmm.
would have been more focused on school because
Mm-hmm.
now I see the importance of education. I would
Right.
have really pushed myself harder instead of giving up on myself, and I would
Mm-hmm.
have developed stronger relationships.
Right. And Brittany, what is one thing that you think that you could, if you had a chance to change one thing among the people, because you have experienced a lot of things, you've met a lot of people, and there might be one common thing which you think is not fine, which you think is not okay, among the people. Or it happens sometimes when the client is there in front of you, when he or she is sharing the problem with you, and you have seen that one common factor which is found among all of the people. So what is one thing that you would wish to change among the people? Is there anything specifically?
Fear.
All right.
I would like to change fear because, and Daryl Davis put it best. He said, fear leads to hate, and
Mm-hmm.
hate leads to destruction. And I
Right.
think that's what we can see around us. And when we're in a state of anxiety and
Mm-hmm.
stress, we are triggering that self preservation within ourselves, and it causes this fear. And we can't move if we have that fear, we can't move past that to be understanding, because we're
Right.
all about protecting the self and the ego.
Right. And I think because of that fear, most of the times, we have this blockage, we cannot do because of the fear that we have. And, we are not really able to reach wherever we really want to be. Brittany, what is life according to you so far? Because you have seen, you know, uh, life has its extreme highs, extreme lows. It is like a roller coaster. Every single person is fighting his own battle. Every single person is going through something, emotionally or on the inside, or, some people want peace, some people want money, some people want some other thing. There are uncountable wishes. So, having said that, and you have seen different sides of it, what would you say? What is life to you?
What is life to me?
Yeah,
It's an adventure.
you
Um,
define it as an
I
adventure.
I want I want to be more enlightened. I want to reach a more enlightened state.
Hmm.
I think that there's so much noise in our environment that we're not able to see our purpose always. And so I found my purpose. Now I'm
Right,
enjoying the journey.
right, right. So, a last question, Brittany, that I would like to ask you is that there are many people who have like very down, very low energy most of the times, and sometimes they're very highly energetic. If I'm talking about myself, all right, because you're the specialist, if I have the specialist in front of me, then why wouldn't I ask the question about myself? I'm the kind of a person who's very energetic. I have this energy which is, I'm very zealous, and people just meet me and they're like quite energetic. They say to me that you're very contagious, you have this smiley face, you have this talkative nature, you're a very chatty person. So, but at the same time, very next moment, sometimes I'm really low, or down the energy, and like people are really, people who know me, they have always seen me energetic, so they are really habituated to the fact that this guy, we always need in a kind of a very smiley face, we always need him with very kind of energy. And if I'm like meeting them with this low morale or very down kind of a person, then they're like, why are you so down, why are you so dull? So what I mean to say, we have this different spectrum of emotions. We
Mhm.
are the kind of people who are sometimes very high, we are sometimes very low. So, is there any formula that we can keep in the pocket to keep a balance between our personalities from going so high to so down? What would you say?
There's so many factors involved with that.
Hmm.
There's so many reasons that our emotions fluctuate.
Hmm.
I think too often we try to get out of those unpleasant emotions because
Hmm.
they are unpleasant, but there's a reason that we're having them. Now, deep depression is something completely different in and of itself, right?
Hmm.
Because it's not just lasting for an hour or a day. It's lasting for more than a couple weeks, right? There's a certain time frame that it's considered depression.
Right.
Then I would seek, a psychologist or look deeper into that. But in terms of mood fluctuation, I think we need to just ask ourselves, why am I feeling this way? And be present with that feeling
Hmm.
instead of just trying to quickly escape it.
Right. Right.
Because, like you
Right. But
said,
mhm,
balance is
it's very
we have to
important.
experience all emotions
Right.
instead of just trying to seek the pleasant emotions.
Brittany, thank you so much. It was a
Yeah,
pleasure talking to you. I think it was a very insightful conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed talking with you, and I
same.
really wish you the
Thank
best of
you.
luck on behalf of Indus University and our whole management. We are really, really thankful to you, and I really wish you the best of luck for everything that you're doing. The book that I'm really waiting for, which is going to be published in September, and I'm really going to buy that from Amazon, and I'm going to read it, and then I will give you the feedback. And I hope that it
Thank
must
you.
be so good. Thank you so much, Brittany, to be with us.
Thank you, Hassan. It was a pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.